So here we are at the intersection of Pine Street Extension, and 101, but the little pull off. Sure, many of us have driven past, but we walk a little bit further, and it's actually a trailhead. And the trail is the Verne Samuelson Trail. Very small little trail, about a mile and a half. Goes to Wellman Road, which is not very far up Black Diamond Road. It's co-managed by the Cobb County Parks and the City of Port Angeles. But the biggest question is, who is Verne Samuelson? Why does he have a trail, and what does he have to do with First National Bank? Well, let's answer those kind of one at a time. To begin with, Verne Samuelson, he was born March 20th, 1890 in Chicago, and he moved to Port Angeles in 1913. And he and Renee Huntley were married April 11th, 1924. So he's been here a long time. His obituary was printed January 16th, 1976. So he's been here since 1913. Mr. Samuelson was one of the first automobile dealers in Port Angeles and first sold Model T Fords. And I believe his company was the Samuelson and Company, located, I believe, on the corner of First and Lincoln. I believe where the gas station is now, but I'm not 100% sure. This article talks about the grand opening of it, but it doesn't have an address. It just says corner of First and Lincoln. But by the picture, it looks like it should be either going up First Street, just going eastbound because of the way the sun is, or it's on Lincoln Street, but I don't know where they'd have the cars. It's hard to tell, but just where the sunshine is. I'm sure that was in the morning. Look how clean those white shirts are. So, anyway, but no, he was a car dealer. And he did that, like I say, until 1958 is when he finally retired. Like I say, but I think the reason why we have the trail, and there's a trail named after him, is that he was the scoutmaster of Port Angeles' first Boy Scout troop, the 474. I believe I was a part of that one as well when I was a kid. Anyways, he did that from 1915 to 1917. He served a year and a half in the U.S. Navy and returned to act as the scoutmaster and then as a commissioner of the Boy Scouts. The present-day Scout Hall property was donated by Mr. Samuelson. But it's still, okay, maybe it was the Boy Scouts why we have a trail. Also could be that he did a lot with the community, and he was a past president of the Rotary and the United Good Neighbors, which ended up becoming United Way. And he served on the advisory board for the Salvation Army and was a member of the Chamber of Commerce when it brought President Franklin Roosevelt to Port Angeles in 1933 to help in the establishment of the Olympic National Park, which he did serve on the committee with the Chamber of Commerce to do that. I've done that in my other research, but I think the reason for the trail was because he did a lot to do with the Boy Scouts. Being the first scout troop of the 747. Here in an article, it talks about him trying to bring another troop in to the Lincoln Heights area, the 475 troop. And that was, I believe, in 1931 is when he wanted that. And then also there was a fundraiser, you could say, for the troop, what was it? For the Scout Hall property. And to build it, I believe in this article it says it's about $2,500. And on the first day of the fundraiser for the Scout Lodge, it raised $975.50. Pretty wild, pretty impressive. They were halfway there, but first day in, that's pretty nice. People cared more a little bit then, but Now the question is, what does this have to do with the First National Bank? Well, if we read here in an article for the bank remodeling reminds of early days start here. It's talking about when Ben Phillips had started the bank. And it talks about the first directors, K.O. Erickson, C.L. Babcock, Dr. McGilvery, and Austin Fairservice. So there's quite a bit of names we've heard about. But more importantly, it says here, Phillips soon hired another young fellow who had come out from Chicago and was working in a logging camp, name of Verne Samuelson. For over a year, they were the total roster of the bank employees. So Verne Samuelson, his ties was he was the first employee of many for the First National Bank of Port Angeles. Pretty impressive. That's how everyone's tied together.